The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Welcome to this episode of Pit Life BBQ. Gather round the pit with your hosts, Johnny Maggs and Greg the Barbecue Broker DiGiorgio. Let's talk barbecue.
What's up, everybody? Coming to you live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café in Salem, New Hampshire. It's the Pit Life BBQ podcast where we talk everything barbecue and a lot of other topics that you normally talk around the pit.
Oh, yeah.
As always, I'm joined by the barbecue broker.
Yeah, dog.
What's up, my man?
What's up, dude?
Nothing. Sharing the show out to my personal page there. There we go. Hit that. See the...
Supposed to do that before the show, not when the show
C-Mac,
starts.
brother Andy.
He's so unprofessional.
What the hell's wrong with this guy? Let me start sharing
How
the
can
show.
I share it before the show actually starts?
Just kind of...
You tell. It's a live show. How can I share it before?
Right. You're
advertise
right.
it.
I just jumped on Greg's bandwagon. I didn't really actually put thought into that. I just was agreeing with Greg.
Neither did he.
Well, that's normal. I should have
steered
known
you
better.
down the wrong side.
I should have known better.
What's up, brother?
Hi.
Long time no see.
Are we sitting... I feel like I'm sitting on your lap. Are we close?
You're perfect.
Are we?
Yeah, because you got to guess. You got a third person on that stage
Oh,
with you today.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, so technically Chris is just to the right of you.
Yeah.
He's over here?
No, the other way.
be
You
over-
can see
It's
yourself in
opposite.
the...
It's opposite on the screen. Don't pay attention to the
Where am
screen.
I?
Yeah, it's
These
okay.
ribs look...
I know.
We'll talk about it after.
Right.
You know who else's ribs look good this past week?
Ours.
Yes, they did.
I have to say,
Woo!
we'll get this mushy bromance thing over with real quick. Mm-hmm. Dude, that was so much fun, man. That was such a good night.
Did a
Saturday.
little competition practice on some chicken and ribs.
Yeah.
6 different ways.
Ugh.
We're just going for kind of taste and tenderness type of thing, not so much prettiness of the cutting of the rib, so to speak. So we had 3 racks, so we split them up into halves. We had 6 different, and wow,
Drooling.
amazing. And the chicken was really good for backyard standard, but we overdid it a little bit, I think.
Got too dark, but
A little bit dark.
it was
Okay.
moist, tender.
You wouldn't complain.
Bite through skin.
You would not. Oh, the skin was. And what a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
Scraping the back of those skins.
Yeah.
I don't want that job again.
You want to know the trick is getting the right angle, and the knife has to be razor sharp. If you get the right angle, you can start with the cutting motion and literally roll the skin right off the back.
You gotta have a sharp knife. If not, you're just tugging away at those
Yep.
skins.
Good knife skills.
Let's see who we got here. Kyle, brother
What's up,
Randy.
Kyle?
Salinas. Randy, thank you so much. Got the package.
So did I.
Steve Burrow, we will see you on Saturday. C-Mac, Uncle Steve.
Hi,
What's
Uncle
up, Uncle Steve?
Speaking of Uncle Steve.
Today's show brought to you by, and always brought to you by, everybody's favorite uncle. It's Uncle Steve's Shake. Hey, you ever wonder why your neighbor has a ton of people waiting to get into his backyard every time he lights up that barbecue, but no one's coming to your house? The reason is you're not using Uncle Steve's Shake, and your neighbor obviously is. So, means one thing. You better get you some. Uncle Steve's Shake, it's handmade. It uses only the finest ingredients and comes in 10 amazing flavors, including the newly renamed competition line, the pig, the cow, and the bird.
Shake.
You got it, brother. If you have any shake questions, Uncle Steve has fantastic customer service. They're going to walk you through all your shake needs. It's time to take your backyard game and your competition. I'm going to add that. And your competition game to the next level.
There you go.
With Uncle Steve's Shake.
Shake some on everything.
Uncle Steve's
Brother
Shake.
Kent. What's up, Daddy Dutch? Ray, what's up, brother?
And today's show also brought to you by...
Two Guys Smoke Shop and twoguyscigars.com. Whether we are barbecuing or not, we always keep the smoke rolling thanks to our friends at twoguyscigars.com. Today we are smoking the Regis Black. Thanks to our friends from twoguyscigars.com, we get to smoke some of the best cigars in the world, and so can you.
Can you?
Just visit twoguyscigars.com for your perfect barbecue companion. Now, Greg, pay attention. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com.
All right. Just in case there's any confusion.
I know, you get confused. You get ahead of yourself.
You get confused. But we're not confused about who's on today's show.
Absolutely.
These
not.
ribs almost look as good as ours. I'm just kidding.
Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to bring to you today,
First time on the show.
for the first time in the show, talking about his brand new book, The 4 Fundamentals of Smoking, Pitmaster Secrets to Make an Incredible Barbecue at Home. The BBQ Buddha, Chris Sussman. Chris, what's up, brother?
Welcome to the show, my man.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. I have listened to you for a while, and I'm excited to be a participant finally.
Awesome, dude. It's glad to have you.
Glad to have it. We have to have one question right off the bat because my phone has been getting blown up all morning long of you're getting your guests incorrect.
What?
Is there is there any confusion of who the BBQ Buddha is and the company BBQ Buddha, our friend Ray Sheehan? Everybody's been asking me, "Oh, Ray's coming back on. Ray's coming." I go, "No. We're gonna get to that. There's a bit of
There's a different BBQ Buddha out there.
The viewers and listeners are a little confused today.
Yeah. And I know Ray and I have had this conversation before. When I started the BBQ Buddha, my blog in 2014, I did all the requisite stuff once I came up with the name and Googled it, and Ray hadn't appeared on the scene yet. Not saying he wasn't doing his thing, but it obviously didn't come up on my radar. So I started, and it was really just backyard fun and Instagramming for the longest time. And by the time I started taking it seriously, like my side hustle started to become a hustle, I knew Ray, and Ray knew me. And at this point, he had locked up the trademark for the name. But, you know, it really is. I go by, that's my nickname. I go by the BBQ Buddha. His product line is the BBQ Buddha. And at the end of the day, I'm not selling rubs and sauces.
Yep.
And if people get the two of us confused, and I help his bottom line, Ray's a really great guy, and I hope he makes an extra nickel off of whatever claim to fame I'm bringing to myself. So we're coexisting nicely.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Because if not, there's only one way to settle it, right?
Cook off.
Yeah.
A good old-fashioned arm wrestling match, and I want to be there for it. Take Ray, or Ray will just take you over the top. You ever see Over the Top with Stallone? Oh, man.
Stay focused.
Classic. Okay, go ahead.
Stay focused. Sunshine.
Yeah.
So, Chris Sussman, The BBQ Buddha, fantastic book. But for anybody who doesn't know, how did you get your start? Obviously, you were talking food blogs, and where have you gone from there?
So I started cooking barbecue in the early 2000s. Like most people, I was a gas griller, and I loved to be outside smoking cigars, drinking a nice beer or a bourbon, and cooking anything. It was the way I liked to live. And then a buddy of mine, a guy who in a million years I never would have guessed he was serious about cooking. He was just my beer drinking buddy. I'd go over to his house and play guitar. And he had a Weber kettle, and he had an indirect zone and a direct zone, and he made like smoked pork tenderloin with this barbecue glaze. I was like, holy cow, dude, how did you know how to do this? And he gave me Steven Reichlin's Barbecue USA book.
Yep.
And I got the bug. And so I started getting my pits. The first pit I got was a Weber Smoky Mountain, and I eventually moved on to Big Green Egg, which I primarily cook on now. I've also cooked on a Traeger. I've got a big 250-gallon offset. So that's where I really got my start in all of that. And I don't want to keep up talking, so I could go on.
Beautiful. Do what you got to do, man.
Virginia. I lived in Northern Virginia at the time, and I became really good friends
Yep.
with Chris Capel and the guys at Dizzy Pig Barbecue.
Yep.
Yes.
And I started to get a taste of competition by going, just being a fly on the wall and cooking with them and helping out any way I could. And I really saw what barbecue competition was like. But most importantly, I really got into the whole egg world. Chris Capel and Dizzy Pig were very gracious and introduced me and brought me to several Eggtoberfest until I finally put together a team and was on a team that took second.
Nice.
2 years in a row, and then we finally won.
Yeah,
nice.
Congrats.
The Eggtoberfest
Yep.
People's Choice, and that's really when everything started to take off for me personally.
Oh, that's awesome. How many eggs you running now? What you got?
I have 2 locations. I'm currently in between 2 homes. So I've got 3 eggs down here at the Florida home, and I think I've got 6 eggs up at my Louisville home, plus various other grills. So my wife is trying to get me to sell some of them, but I doubt it.
And you have the biggest one, the double X. You got that. You got the
You
big
know,
boy?
I don't have the double X.
Ooh, why is that?
I would like to get the double X, but my favorite one is the XL. I think that does pretty much everything. It's the most efficient. Does everything for me.
What's the
XL.
biggest piece of meat you've gotten on the double XL?
I did, I guess, like a small, like a little hog. You know.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that can fit on pretty well.
Nice, dude.
That was fun cook.
Ooh, little suckling pig action.
Nice. What would you say? Yeah. What would you say for all the green eggers out there? Always fighting with the gaskets, man. Gaskets are brutal. I have a green egg. I have a large. What in your opinion, what's the best gasket setup for the big green egg?
So for the
or any
Kamado,
Kamado, I guess, for that matter.
Rutland gasket is the standard that everybody uses off market. The problem with the original gaskets with the big green egg is they weren't really designed for high heat, but yeah, they were selling them to be able to do the steak cooks and more importantly, like the pizza cooks. So you'd burn your gasket out. Rutland takes high heat. And the other good thing about a Rutland is you only have to put it on one
bottom
side, either the dome side or the
I heard
bottom.
that. Okay.
Now, since then, Big Green Egg has come out with a new and improved, a high heat gasket that I do have on all my new eggs. And that works pretty well.
Okay.
But that you have to put on the top and the bottom.
As long as I don't have to redo it on an annual basis. That's all. Just pain in the ass. It's pain in the ass. Tell you, the Weber kettle, the kettle's taken over the eggs position a little bit. Kind of said, step aside. I'm easier to clean, and I heat up just as good. You know?
That's why you gotta develop a pool of apprentices that want to learn from you, and then you get them to come over, and you're like, well, the most important thing you have to learn is maintenance. So here's how you change the gas.
Wow,
beautiful.
My sons are my twin boys turning 12, so they're just about ready to get that muscle behind it. You know what I mean?
That's a perfect age.
Yeah, they're just getting ready to go.
That's a pro move right there.
Yep,
I like that.
Number 1, maintenance.
Yeah. Maintenance.
You'll be in this phase for the next 4 years, son.
So
beautiful.
From everybody, and we're looking at the chat, and everyone's talking about, your Instagram page and your following there. What made you start with the Instagram or choose Instagram over, a Facebook or YouTube,
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a lovely daughter. She's 28, about to turn 29, if you could believe it. And when she was growing up, she'd always teach me the latest and greatest cool social media, MySpace and Facebook. But Instagram really enamored me because at the time it was just a picture. And it was, it was like you posted a picture and then you moved on. There wasn't like this heavy duty, you were like putting everything out there for everybody to see and study. It was just, if you put a great picture out there, it was good. So I started doing stuff really early on, like posting pictures of me cooking things on the Big Green Egg, which now everybody does that stuff. But back then, nobody was doing it. And it just grew from there. The biggest reason why I really kept and grew that audience is the engagement in Instagram. You build a community of people that you're so good friends with. You really get to know as if you've met them. And then when you see them at these festivals and egg fests or barbecue competitions or what have you, it's this amazing kinship, and there's nothing like it. So that was really what did it for me. I love the engagement on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it goes with all social media.
Yeah.
Because we're on everything, so we're knowing different people from Instagram, Facebook, and me especially, and you now too, on the YouTube, doing the YouTube videos, and meeting everybody, and like you said, you build relationships and become a family with everybody, and you've never met them, and it's you know it's the craziest thing. But you know, you get to a place and you actually meet face to face. No one would ever know that would be the first time you ever meeting,
including the two of you. I mean, it's like you just pick up like, hey, I mean, it's easiest relationships I've ever made is that way. So.
And it's not easy either. I mean, I think these algorithms have changed over the years. It's work. It is work. Even then and now, it's a commitment to build these communities, staying on top of your game. You know what I mean? It's work.
It is. It's real work.
And it
is work.
Yep.
And especially when you make critical mass where people are really like waiting on you like a TV show. I mean, I really got, you know, I had bronchitis a couple of, you know, last week, and it was real bad, and I was out. I couldn't produce content for a couple of days, and it's like people are like, "Where are you? Are you okay?"
Right.
I just feel like I have to do a public service now. I'm here. I haven't forgotten. So.
For sure. Yeah, everybody's always up to, what are you doing? What are you doing? So that's a cool part. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So obviously you've been doing the Instagram, the blogs, and everything. Where did the idea of the cookbook come from?
So for me, you know, and especially doing the stuff I do on social media, you get opportunities like this a lot, especially if you have a blog, which I've had for a while. But most of the book deals that will like come across or that you talk about, they really are just hiring you as a writer. You know, hey, we like your blog, we like what you do, we want a Kamado style book, and here the 20 recipes that you need to write for this section, blah, 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 which was all interesting to me, but I had stuff that I wanted to say. You know, I am a backyard pit guy that had a job for a while and learned all this stuff and kept a journal and did all this stuff that you hear people need to do. But I felt like I could now distill that into an experience to help the next generation of backyard pit masters learn some of these things. And the reason why. I'm an engineer by trade, and I want to know why. I want to be able to easily understand, okay, you're telling me I need to mop or mist, and I get it. I'll follow that in the recipe, but why? I want to know why. So at least the why will help me follow recipes and create recipes. So the book came, Page Street Publishing is an awesome publishing company. They distribute through Macmillan Press, so I'm in bookstores all over the place, all over the world. And I really liked working with them because they were like, tell me your idea for a book. They didn't come to me and say, hey, here's the book we want you to write. They were like, what do you want to write?
Yeah.
And I pitched this idea that I wanted to do half narrative and I wanted to do half recipes. And I wanted to be able to do in the narrative to be able to say, hey, I'm you, you're me. These are the lessons I learned. I'm not telling you any gospel. I'm not saying fat side up, fat side down, because that's the way you're supposed to do it. I'm telling you, here's what I've learned and why, so you can make up your own mind. And most importantly, you could get some of that experience for yourself and not just be beholden to recipe writing and reading.
Makes sense. You having some trouble there? You okay?
Just like myself, it's a whole balance issue.
You do seem off balance from time to time.
The book's top heavy.
When you get 300 plus pounds, you let me know how your balance gets there, son.
Sorry,
you move with this for 20-something years. You tell me how your balance goes.
Getting there.
So, the 4 fundamentals of smoking. And like I said, I've had this... Charlotte at Page Street was great enough to get us a copy early, and this is fantastic.
Dude.
It really is. You know, everybody Page Street works with puts out an incredible book. I have not seen one yet that, I've been disappointed. Everybody has their own little spin, their tips and techniques, and it's just great to see everyone's different views on things. But what I like about yours, Chris, is the 4 fundamentals. Well, there's regular cookbooks, but you break it down, like you said, half the recipes and half the fundamentals, narratives. And it starts off with fuel, combustion, and wood. what is your idea on the best fuel, best way to get a great combustion, and the types of wood to choose?
So, great question. This book, another thing about the book, even though I primarily cook on Big Green Eggs, the book does cover Weber Smoky Mountain and Traeger grills. So I wanted to really approach to all barbecuers in their backyard, whatever they're cooking on, and sort of decouple combustion from smoke or from wood, right? Most people are like, well, you burn the wood and that's how it works. And I want them to understand that in a charcoal grill, you're using charcoal for the combustion and wood for smoke. And in a Kamado grill, you're using lump charcoal and wood for smoke. And in a Traeger, you're using electricity for the combustion and the pellets for smoke. And here's how to think about each of those things. And here's why that's important. The biggest so what from there, well, I should stop. And people will be all excited, and then they have to go buy the book. But I'll give them a secret. The biggest thing is, it drove me crazy for years. People say, you need to have clean smoke before you put your damn clean smoke. That's like, that doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as clean smoke. What does clean blue smoke mean? So for me, I wanted to do a deep dive on what actually gives you the flavor from the wood. And that is the combustion with the living organics in real wood, smoking wood. And it isn't the white stuff you see billowing out of your smoker or your grill. That's all the carcinogens that are burning off. It's the actual gas that's released from the combustion, the certain heat and temperature of a combustion. And it's that gas that you're trying to imbue in on the meat or the proteins that you're cooking in your smoker. In my personal journey, that was a giant aha moment. And I wanted to be able to do enough research and enough understanding so I could explain it to people in a simple way so they can have an aha moment for themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Brother Alton, the dog father, is in the house.
Oh, the dog father.
Yep. And
Matty Rimsons, what's up, dude?
He just said he just ordered a copy of the 4 Fundamentals, so there we go, right off the bat.
Crawdaddy in the house.
He must have ordered that before I told him that fundamental right there. So he hit on my little teaser. I hope he's not disappointed now that I gave it away.
I do want to take just a quick minute to wish everyone a happy 420. Brad Mirabello just reminded me. Wanted to say happy 420, everybody.
I think you already knew what it was today.
I may or may not have.
Yes. But it's funny because
I got questions.
Each chapter you have a great block on the top of a page of you call them Mythbusters
or pro moves.
And I think those are great. And the one that is there
pro tips
is, and I thank you I personally thank you for doing this because I found myself in this argument this week, as a matter of fact, of do you soak your wood?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. And
again, but I didn't
I did the beginning of time.
Like people say you soak wood or you don't. There's these two camps like you always get, in barbecue mythology. I wanted to explain why, and it's about the combustion we talked about earlier. If you have to have your combustion at a certain temperature in order to release that gas that you need to get into your meat, you can't possibly get that temperature if you soak your wood. Yeah, it's going to last longer, but it's going to last longer because it's never getting to that high enough combustion point to release gases that will imbue that flavor. So all you're getting is wet smoke flavor. It's like when you were a kid and you were camping, with the Boy Scouts or whatever. And if you ever camped in the rain and then you cooked the hot dogs in there and you had the hot dogs didn't taste like good fire roasted hot dogs. They tasted like moldy socks.
Yep.
That's that wet wood flavor.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to soak your wood to make it last longer or whatever, you're probably using wood that's too dry to start with. Right? Get some better wood.
Or they're using too much wood.
Or you're buying your wood. Or you're buying your wood.
You're
buying your wood at Home Depot, if you're soaking it. They maybe need to be soaked.
the number 2 fundamental, which I find this one absolutely fascinating, controlling humidity.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
So
is that humidity of, New England summers, Florida humidity? We talking general humidity or humidity in your cooking vessel?
It's specifically humidity in your cooking vessel and why that's so important. However, I do go into the book when you're in higher altitude or hotter environments or colder environments, the need for insulated fireboxes and what grills do it better than others. But that chapter and that fundamental specifically is, I want to set the reader up to say, hey, here's how you generate smoke flavor. You have combustion at X and you get this gas, right? Well, then where does the gas go? How does the gas get into the meat? How does the gas give wood flavor to your barbecue? And the answer to that is humidity. You need to have certain humidity inside of your environment for the gas to stick to. If your pellicle, or the pellicle is the film on your meat as it's cooking before it forms the bark, if it's too dry, there's nothing for that gas to stick to. If it's too wet, it will just bounce off. Mm-hmm. So it's that perfect management of that pellicle and when to mist and when to mop, and in what environment do you need a water pan versus another environment where you don't. And those are the things I want to explain. It's that one-to-one gas to humidity that's giving you the flavor that you're looking for in your backyard barbecue or in any barbecue.
Yeah,
that could make a difference where we are, because whether you're in a cool, fall or winter versus August, July, when the humidity is peaking. That's gonna be interesting.
If you're in a naturally over 84% humid environment, probably, and you don't have an insulated firebox, you're probably not gonna want to mist or mop or put a water pan in your smoker. You're probably gonna give too much moisture in there, and therefore you'll have good meat, but it won't have that flavor you're looking for.
Alton.
That makes sense.
A humidor is for the cigars, but somewhat same preference.
Yeah.
A
meatador.
Same science.
Meatador.
We've started it now.
You heard it
like
first.
It.
Whoever takes the idea, I'm going home and copywriting that. So just try me. Meatador. It's a good one.
Nice. You got some questions. So
I was just wondering. So I noticed on your dry rub, simple salt, pepper, but I noticed you throw a little Lowry's in there.
Yeah.
Is that because the kosher salt? Because I hear some people use kosher salt, some people like to use sea salt. It's a little bit more saltier, less flaky, whatever. Do you throw it on there because you don't think you're getting enough kosher salt, or why? Or just like the flavor that Lowry's gives in the rub?
It's just a little. I think when I started to discover using that, when I really wanted to emulate Aaron Franklin and make Texas brisket, I did the 50-50. And then I played around with like Steven Reichland's, where he puts in part red pepper flakes.
Cracked red pepper flakes,
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Great.
Yep.
And then a lot of other people like to put cumin and all these other aromatics in there. And I like that. I like other rubs on brisket. But I really wanted to do something different with my Texas style brisket that would make people feel very familiar. Like it's the salt and pepper that they used to, but there's a little like, something new to them.
Yeah.
And so by taking out some of the kosher salt and supplanting that with Lowry's, which has trace amounts of that type of stuff. It's got a little garlic salt in there. It's got a little other aromatics in that.
Yep.
I think it just gives that enough of a, this is different, but good and familiar to the people that eat my brisket, that I wanted to share with the readers. Instead of getting all fancy and saying, well, do an eighth of a teaspoon of cumin and chili powder, this, that, and the other. Lowry seems to be a one-size-fits-all, pretty good salt substitute when it's mixed in with heavy black pepper and kosher salt.
And, it's the reason why I ask is because I just bought my first bottle of Lowry salt this week. I showed it to you. I was like, I never use this stuff. But I see a lot of cooks use it in general, not just in barbecue. So I bought myself, and I was trying to figure out how can I implement that. And what did we throw a little bit on the chicken? A little coating. It's got a little cornstarch in it too, Lowry's.
Yeah.
And
it's the granules is so fine. So it's like the meat church rubs. It gives a really good foundation where with the large crystals of kosher salt and the heavy mashed black pepper, it's hard to get coverage. And so Lowry sort of lays this foundation down that evenly spreads the seasoning over the brisket.
Totally. We put some regular rub on the bottom of the thighs, and then under the skin, before we laid the skin over, I did a little coat of Lowry's, laid the skin on top of that. We already scraped the bottom. We would practice in competition style, but I'm thinking that Lowry's maybe soaked a little bit more of that moisture out. It was really nice bite through skin. And then I came over the skin with a little bit of rub after, but the Lowry's. It's a new secret weapon.
And just like
the old new secret weapon.
We were talking earlier about replacing the gasket. You just need to get your son to take the fat off the skin of your chicken thigh.
Yep. 100%. Promo.
And then your problem is solved. You see, they call me the barbecue Buddha.
That's right. Genius. So one other question I had. So I love your pro tips as you go along. One you had on the brisket. If you mind if I just throw it out there.
Sure.
It's about the common debate of the fat side up, the fat side down, and a lot of people talk about that really depends on your smoker, right? And that if your heat source is coming from the top or the bottom or whatnot. So I noticed that in your pictures when you're cooking on your egg, you go the heat source is from the bottom on an egg, but you go fat side down on that to protect. Now I've always looked at the egg, and being an egg owner myself, that heat deflector plate in there, making that heat come up, and it comes right back down on the brisket, on the top of the brisket. So it's almost like top down, bottom up in the egg. It's almost like you can have your choice. Have you ever cooked fat side up on the egg? Ever? Or have you found...
I have before I started, at the beginning of my journey, there was this huge debate, fat side up, fat side down.
Totally.
And as I've studied it, I've realized a lot of that advice I was given early on was just somebody else's barbecue religion that they had been taught. They didn't know why they were telling you fat side up or fat side down. That's just what they would learn.
Yeah.
So when I started to read it, like for instance, Aaron Franklin, all of his is fat side up because that's what he considers his presentation layer. That's the side that he's going to be serving and slicing when he gets when people are waiting in line. He's also using an offset smoker where the heat's coming primarily from the top.
Yes.
So for me, it's there is a lot of argument. What I finally have come to do, and you'll see the picture in the book on the big green egg in particular. Most other barbecue meats that I do for low and slow in the big green egg, I don't put any water in there. But for a brisket, I'll put like a little quarter steam pan in the back filled with water, and I think that sort of offsets what you're getting from the top down.
Oh, I see.
You're getting that extra humidity in there and moisture, but you're also sort of giving a heat sink, if you will, for that heat when it's bouncing around the dome.
I've went back and forth. I've tried it both ways a number of times. I keep going back to fat side up in the egg, and what I've learned to do is I put my water source below it in a pan. So I have the whole grate to work with on my large. And I make it so the flat, you know how it's kind of like a triangle shape in a way? So I make it so the flat is over one end of them. So it's kind of, it protects it. It's almost like a natural protector. And then where it comes across, the point does hang off a little bit onto an open area, and I guess could burn. But what I do is I put a little foil at the end of that, just to protect the end of the tip. And man, I'll tell you, I just love. I'm gonna go on a limb. If I'm gonna cook one brisket, I love using my offsets, but it comes out so delicious on the egg, and with it fat side up. I implore you, if you haven't done it in many years, give it a shot and try it with that method.
That's why I love this job, and that's why I love people in the community. Comes out
phenomenal. Yeah.
There's no religion. Just do whatever works for you. You know? And here's a little tip for you though. If you want another tip,
I love tips.
Uncle Buddha.
100%.
So you've got
Uncle Buddha
Vector, which is the plate setter.
Yeah.
And that has the 3 openings, which everybody, if they're not paying attention, they have to juggle the ribs, why they burn on that side, or why are the wings more done over here.
Right.
So in a true low and slow environment, if you have a large egg, I think it's a 18-inch diameter, if I'm not mistaken.
Large is 18 a quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So go get an 18-inch pizza pan, aluminum foil pizza pan, and cut out the front third, and then put that on top of your convector. It'll block the back 2 holes and allow just the front one. So you've got all the airflow that you need, but you're blocking off the other 2. So you remove all of those extra heat zones. And if you position your barbecue correctly in the Big Green Egg, you're not having to worry about that direct heat element that you have to move your stuff around with a lot in the cook. You have a more insulated environment.
And you're still getting an even cook, you feel, when it's just one opening in the
yeah, because you're at such a low temperature.
Yes.
The ambient temperature, it actually helps because there's not more oxygen getting down to the fuel source.
Totally. Oh, nice. Love it. That's amazing.
Well, that one somewhat covered the number 3 fundamental of controlling temperature in the barbecue zone.
Yes, sir.
So great segue.
You like that segue?
You know what you're doing.
So for me, that chapter was all about why. Why is cooking this way so important? Why does it have to be under 300 degrees? Why does it have to be above 200 degrees? What happens in that zone? And what happens if one of the most common questions I get is, oh my goodness, I've tried to get it to 250, but the egg got too hot. It's 275 now. Now what do I do? So I wanted to deep dive in that chapter without getting too heady or too scientific as to what happens, what's happening with the physics, if you will, of heat transference from the fuel source into the protein, how it's traveling through the protein and how you need to think about it, and what heat and time, how they're relative in that scenario. Most importantly, why for you then when you're thinking of cooking your brisket or your pork butt, the internal temperature should never be over 210 degrees. Why? Because 212 degrees is the degree that water boils, and all of that beautiful fluid and collagen that you've broken down on that long cook, if you let it get too hot on the internal temperature, it will start evaporating that from the inside of the meat. So these are all little tips and tricks that people never think about that I wanted to put out in the book to at least have you now go, that's why this happened on my cook, or that's why I'm having this issue. I need to think about it a different way.
That's some engineer shit right there.
Welcome to the show, Greg. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I was playing. That's some engineer shit right there.
And that's what makes this great.
Hence the Buddha.
Is the depth that you've gone into.
Yep.
Like you had said, I want to know, well, why? Okay, I'll do A, B, and C, but why? Why?
I'm a but why guy. I am.
And I hope you guys tell me that it's not too scientific. My career in IT, I was an executive, and so my job 90% of the time was explaining highly technical concepts to salespeople, right? So you've got to empower them to go out and know just enough to sound credible, but to do their job and sell. Yeah. So I took that skill set and I've applied it to my barbecue life. I did the heavy lifting to learn what's happening at a chemical level and all of that. But then I translated into easy language in this book so the average backyard barbecuer that isn't an engineer would get that aha moment and learn something.
And in my opinion, you definitely hit that with how everything's worded, structured. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Now to the finish. Ooh. What is the finish?
So the finish is, how the heck do you know when it's done, right? And that's that's another good segue from temperature to the finish is, if you take a look at the USDA recommendations, they say pork is ready at 145. Well, if you served your pork butt at 145 or you served your ribs, it wouldn't be done, right? Or at least it wouldn't be the barbecue that you're expecting or that people are expecting. But then you can't really tell people, well, cook it to this temperature, because sometimes I've had ribs done at 195. Sometimes my ribs were done at 205. What are all the variables that go into that? The meat selection, the thickness of the meat, the fat, intramuscular fat, and all that stuff. So the finish is taking into account all of these variables. You want to be able to think, hey, this is the type of meat I have. This is the size of the meat I have. This is the way I'm going to cook it, the temperature I'm going to cook it. It should be ready between this range. But then what are the other things that you need to think about in addition to temperature that are going to tell you? Visual cues. Is your bark set? You know, if you spritz the bark, is it runny or has it been set on your bark? You know, that's a huge one. Probe tender. If you're putting your probe in to check the temperature and it has resistance when you slide it in and out, then it's not ready. I always say it's like if you had a Ziploc bag filled with creamy peanut butter, it should feel like that. You know, a little resistance, but pretty much easy to go in and out. Yeah. And then visual cues, like for ribs, my favorite one is the bend test. I cook my ribs until when I pick them up, they bend over, but they don't break, and a little crack forms in the meat. So taking in all of these things and applying it to the temperature and the time allows you to decouple from following a recipe saying, oh, well, the recipe said cook it for 10 hours until 2:05 and it should be done, but nobody liked my barbecue. If you look at all of those cues in totality that tell you when it's done, you won't be hamstrung by the recipe. You'll be in control of the recipe.
You know, the people that was the USDA that puts out the meat, you know, the chart of when meat is done. Is that right? Like right. medium rare. Well, obviously they weren't barbecue people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, they've got to.
They just never said that guy. I feel bad for the poor bastard that tried to cook a brisket medium rare.
Yeah.
And then just like looked in the mirror and said, "What the hell did I do wrong here?" And his wife called him worthless, and now he's sleeping in the doghouse.
All because of experience.
I just got out of the doghouse last week. I'm not in the doghouse anymore. My doghouse has a smoker in it, so I'll sleep out there. Thank you, Chrissy.
Wayne, what's up? Wayne coming from us live from New Zealand.
Wow, what's up,
welcome,
Wayne?
Brother, welcome. So, Chris, while in our last couple minutes here, I have looked through the book, and like I said, I don't want to go dive too deep into the recipes because you all need to get this book. Mm-hmm. So, but I picked out two that jumped right out at me because I found them extremely interesting. The Kentucky hot brown stuffed pork loin.
Ooh.
That's a mouthful, and I'm going to assume in many different ways.
Yes.
Wow.
So if you're familiar and your viewers are familiar with the famous sandwich from Louisville, Kentucky, from the Brown Hotel, it's called the Hot Brown, and the origination of that sandwich was back in the 20s in the dancing clubs and stuff that the youngins would go to. All the chefs would then, when they were all done dancing and drinking, look in their leftovers and make these really heavy sandwiches to help everybody with their hangovers. So they took Mornay sauce, bacon, tomatoes, turkey, and Texas toast essentially, and baked it off. And that was the hot brown sandwich. It's an open face sandwich.
Nice.
So my wife, Mrs. Buddha, is a Kentucky Louisville original, and I live there now. I wanted to pay some homage to my hometown, so I deconstructed the hot brown sandwich, and instead of turkey, I did pork loin, and I took the cheese and the tomatoes, and I stuffed it, butterflied the pork loin, seasoned inside the pork loin, put the cheese and tomatoes in there, roll it up, 420. Rolled up.
Yeah, that's right, dog. That's right, dog. Woohoo!
Wrap it in bacon, season it, and smoke it at 250 with some good, applewood. Yeah. I like that with this dish. Mm-hmm. And I'm cooking ribs, oddly enough, and that was my timer to go out and spritz. So I should drag the rig out there and show everybody the ribs I'm cooking.
We must not be in a humid environment if you're spritzing.
Yeah, and then at the last 30 minutes, you crank up the heat of your smoker so you can crisp up that bacon, and oh boy, it's good. That's such a teasing dish, and it's great. Kentucky Derby's coming up in 2 weekends. It's a great recipe for your Derby Day party.
Damn.
Nice.
Delicious.
Then the other was...
I'm hungry.
We'll ask you to get one more recipe, then we'll let you get to your ribs. The smoked leg of lamb.
Ooh.
I have found that the leg of lamb has been popping up in different groups for conversation. And even My wife saw one at our local butcher shop a couple weeks ago.
I just did one about a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, so
Love some lamb.
little tidbit on the leg of lamb.
Mm-hmm.
It's another throwback to my hometown. Kentucky isn't very well known for barbecue in the barbecue world, say like North Carolina, Kansas City, and Texas. But they do have a claim to fame in the barbecue world, and that is mutton.
Mutton.
In
Yes.
the western side of Kentucky, in Owensboro, they've got two famous restaurants, barbecue restaurants there that pump out so much mutton you can't even physically buy mutton inside of Kentucky. So to make it easy on the reader, I wasn't going to go with mutton, so I did my own spin on the Kentucky black barbecue sauce, which is Worcestershire vinegar. It's almost like a North Carolina vinegar sauce on steroids. It's really good. You could use that sauce on many other things. And then I smoked this leg of lamb nice, low and slow, so it's shredded like pulled pork. And then you just take that lamb, that smoky goodness lamb with the crust on it, you dip it into that black sauce, and it's so delicious. It's so good. And different.
Jesus.
Oh, like I said, it was definitely a different recipe for sure.
I need to know more about that.
Okay. One shot.
Bologna.
He has to spritz.
No, that's it. Bologna burn ends. You don't have to go into it, but wow.
So the two things
Sounds
on
ridiculous.
that one, because I forgot to mention, little
Bologna.
bragging on myself, it was a terrible decision at the time I was writing the book, but it ended up being a pretty good bragging thing. Not only was I the author and the recipe writer, but I did all the food photography myself. So
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
No shit.
a lot of the people that do the books for Page Street will hire a photographer. I didn't realize I should have hired a photographer until I was in the middle of writing and recipe creating. I was
That's
like, and now
great.
I've got to do the food photography as well.
That's
But,
fantastic.
So I did all the food photography. I was very lucky. I found a person named Sarah locally in Louisville that works for Yum Brands, who does food styling, who helped me do the setup for the shots and everything.
Yeah.
But that was I can say this on the show. If not, you all edit it out in real time.
Have it all out.
It was a 420 night inspired conversation with my best friend when I was trying to think of recipes for the book.
Yep.
And, pork belly burn ends were all the rage then.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and then I saw somebody do like poor man's burnt ends with hot dogs. And I was like, well, I'm going to smoke a whole chub of bologna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you do like a pork belly.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to cube it up. Then I'm going to sauce it and smoke it again.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to serve that with a kimchi slaw, which that kimchi slaw is
That makes
awesome.
the difference. That's
So
just
good.
that's the difference maker. You got a little bit of sesame seed on there. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm making it, Chrissy.
What is my spin?
You better
gonna be
bring
on
some for me.
Everybody can read Rodney Scott's book or Aaron Franklin's book. There's great barbecue masters. I like my barbecue, but I'm not going to teach you all any new spins on brisket, ribs, and things. So I wanted to do a lot of recipes that reflected the types of food and the influences I like to do.
I love
which
it,
is,
dude.
Pan-Asian. So.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, brother.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you for taking some time to join us today to talk about this incredible book. Best of luck with the book. I know it's going to be a success.
Absolutely.
Where can everybody find you social media-wise, websites, all that?
So I have a website, the BBQ Buddha. So it's THEBBQ.com.
Links
So
are in the
you can
description.
get my blogs. You can order the book there or on Amazon. My Instagram handle is the same words, but I put underscores. Had I thought about all of this early on, I wouldn't have done that, but that's what I did. So it's at THE_BBQ_BUDDHA. And you can find me on Facebook. I even have a YouTube channel. So you can get me all over the place in addition to...
Awesome. And the book is available, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all over the place.
All over the place and in some bookstores as well. It just was released in Europe. It was only available for the first month via e-book, and now they get in the physical copy. So it's cool to see people in Europe tag me and show that they're getting the book.
Awesome.
And I just put on my website for those that like to get authors' autographs. I just put on my website a link so you could buy an autographed copy from me. I'll sign it, send it to you. You let me know what you want to say. And then I'll be back in Louisville in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be doing a string of live book signings.
Awesome.
And hope to be at Dizzy Pig later this summer to do a live book signing in Northern Virginia.
So cool, man. Good luck with all that, man.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, once again, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. This was awesome. So much information. Like I said, I geek out on barbecue stuff. And, and the deep dive into some of the topics is right up my alley. So it's from my words, great job. Great job. Great job.
Well, I hope we all get to smoke a stick, eat some barbecue, and drink some bourbon together. If you're ever in Louisville, look me up. You got a place to come and crash.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
Get
bro.
to spritzing them ribs.
All right.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, stick with us for a minute while we do the outro.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to go spritz. Forget it.
You got to go spritz.
Let him go.
Take
That's
off.
it. All right, take off, brother.
We're good, brother. We're good.
You're good. We're good. Later, bro. All right.
Kidding. Here's the spritz bottle. I'm all
Awesome, bro. All right, man. Later, bro.
We do have an announcement to make.
Yeah.
It is in the final stages of fine-tuning, but everyone's favorite uncle, Uncle Steve, is coming out with a new shake.
Oh, yeah.
The South Texas Red. And let me tell you, it's got a kick.
It's going to light your ass on fire.
It's going to light you up pretty good. And
it's delicious.
yeah,
It's one of those
I
things.
tried it on Saturday at your house, and you got a good kick because the pepper flake got me in the back of the throat. And I was like, oh.
He just turned a little
Yeah.
bit red.
Went,
He looked at me and he just started dumping
Yeah.
water in his cup.
You could get you see the pepper flake and red pepper flake in there.
It's delicious.
The jalapeno
Awesome.
powder. Outstanding. So
Yep.
keep your ears to the grindstone on this one. We will let you know when it is available.
You got it.
But it's coming out, the South Texas Red from Uncle Steve's Shake.
Put that shit on everything.
Damn right.
What's going on next week?
Next week, whoo, baby, I am excited. Brother Randy Salinas.
Oh, Big Salinas.
From Big Salinas Barbecue.
Yep.
Will be joining us. Talk about his line of sauces, his rubs, his podcast that he does with his brother Junior.
Yep.
And it's going to be a great episode.
Dude.
We're going back to Texas, baby.
That the sauces were
Yeehaw.
damn good. Level that shit up. They were delicious. So
Nice.
yes, we'll have a lot to talk about.
All right. So, yeah, Randy Salinas joining us live next Tuesday. But that's it for this week, folks. We'd like to thank you all for joining us.
Yep.
Catch the audio wherever podcasts are found. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. On YouTube, hit that subscribe bell and notification bell. You'll have all our episodes right there at your fingertips. On social media, you can find us at all the links in the description.
They're right down there somewhere.
Questions and comments, send them to pitlifebbqpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
And like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button. Get your copy of the 4 Fundamentals of Smoking. You will not be disappointed.
I'm going to make bologna burn ends. I'm going to make bologna burn ends. Bologna burn ends.
Oh, you're full of baloney.
Shut up.
Goodness.
And on that note, till next week, keep the smoke rolling.
Bye, Uncle Steve.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.